Today, you will receive advice from Warren Buffett, the fourth or fifth wealthiest man in the world, and it is coming to you free of charge. So pay attention, watch to the end, and I will post all 5 of the concepts we discuss. Then it's up to you to become rich or not. Please share and subscribe to this channel, and keep coming back for more wealth, financial, and life improvement skills. Now, there's been an American nightmare rather than an American dream taking place in our land, where people have sacrificed to become educated, worked hard, and learned good work habits, tried to build their lives on sound financial concepts, yet have found themselves living a life on the edge their entire lives. And even worse, they see it becoming the same for their children. Warren Buffett said, and I quote, "There are many Americans who have been living the American nightmare instead of the American dream." End of quote. Did you know that 58% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? That means whenever you go to the grocery store, 60% of the people in the store are struggling to make ends meet and are barely able to afford their groceries. The sad reality is that it doesn't matter where you live, because it affects the entirety of America. Here's a surprise. Being broke doesn't have anything to do with how much you make. Many of these same people have 6-figure incomes, own homes, have a family, but still live paycheck to paycheck. And it's all by choice. We need money to survive, and that's why we work. In the words of Warren Buffett, again quoting, "If you don't learn to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die." End of quote. If you want to stop drowning in debt, live the life you want to live, and help the people around you, you need to figure this out. If we research how Warren Buffett got rich, we find something surprising. It turns out he has mentioned 5 key things that are keeping people poor, and I'm going to share them with you today. It all starts with having a zero balance mentality. For example, if you have $50 in your bank account, most people think, "I have $50 in my bank account. I have $50 to spend," right? Well, this may backfire big time. Warren Buffett's advice, and mine to you, is, and I quote, "If you can't pay for it, don't buy it, and instead get yourself into a position where you can pay for anything." End of quote. Warren Buffett says also, and I quote, "Don't buy what you can't afford. Just because you have $50 doesn't mean you can afford to spend $50. End of quote. This is exactly what zero balance thinking is. Zero balance thinking is the killer of wealth. It's also why income isn't what determines whether you are broke or rich. For instance, Warren Buffett lives a lifestyle of around $100,000 a year, even though he's the 4th or 5th richest person in the world. On the flip side, if you make $40,000 a year and spend $40,000 a year, you're still broke. If you make $100,000 a year and you spend $100,000 a year, you're still broke. You need to make sure to take some of your paycheck and income and put it into savings so you're prepared for emergencies and investments, so your money can start growing over time. Warren Buffett invested in his first stock nearly 77 years ago and paid $114.75 for 3 shares of City Service Preferred, and he has never stopped investing. Let me share an example with you to help clarify zero balance thinking. I have a friend who I used to be very close with. He and his wife were pretty keen on having the latest and greatest cars and fashion. When we received a stimulus check in 2020 for the COVID stimulus, I asked him what he and his wife were going to do with the extra money. They said they would use the check to put a down payment on a new car and buy a new outfit for each one. You heard that right. They took their entire stimulus check to get into debt on a new car and get some new clothes, as opposed to making use of it to grow their wealth. Some of you may be wondering how you can avoid this type of thinking. There's one simple rule to follow. It's called the rule of 5. If you can't afford 5 of the items you want to buy with cash, then you can't afford it at all. That means if you had $50, you could only buy something that cost $10. It's important not to make this more complicated than it has to be. And in the words of Warren Buffett, quoting, I don't look to jump over 7-foot high barriers. I look around for 1-foot high bar so that I can step over it. End of quote. Don't make your path to wealth harder than it needs to be. Just simply avoid zero balance thinking. There's one hidden aspect of this idea that gets overlooked. For example, being a lover of food, I expect to buy food the rest of my life. And I hope that food goes down in price tomorrow. But if not, I will have saved money to buy it when needed, at whatever price it's at. Now let's go to the second concept of this mentality, and that's called the payment traps. Warren Buffett makes it so obvious when he warns that if you're not careful about low prices can turn against you. Many of the people who look rich really aren't rich, but they just look rich. They have very expensive things, and it makes you wonder how on earth they can afford that. Warren Buffett said, quoting, "Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked." End of quote. In other words, when you really look into things, you see who's really rich and who isn't. The truth is that they can't afford it, but they think they can. For example, someone I know bought a Mercedes recently. It's a beautiful car, and they only have a $650 a month payment. However, just because they can afford $650 in monthly payments doesn't mean they can afford it. They don't have the cash up front to pay for it. So in other words, they can't afford it. What this leads to is the illusion that you can spend more money than you actually have because you're not paying huge sums for the items up front. It's like having to pay up front the $90,000 for a new Mercedes. One area where I see this a lot is with zero APR deals. At this point, you can buy almost anything with a zero APR rate and pay in monthly installments. For example, new luggage on Amazon that costs between $150 to $300 can be put on monthly installments of $20 to $30 a month. These installments can make you think you can afford way more items, but you end up having to pay the full amount back anyway. And when you have to pay for not just a car at $650, but a couch at $75 a month, and plenty of other items in your home on top of these things like credit card debt, you'll be broke forever. The other thing I see is people who run up their credit card debt. They're facing bankruptcy or they've already been through bankruptcy once before and they owe a whole bunch of money and they can't even pay the interest, let alone pay any principal. And half of the people I know have that problem, which is avoidable. Don't get caught in payment traps designed to keep you broke. Avoid the payment trap. The third mentality he calls out is the concept of compounding. Once you've overcome payment traps and the zero balance mindset, you can focus on compounding your money. Compounding is the magical effect that takes money and grows it exponentially. Warren Buffett said, and I quote, "When we get chances to use the capital we have, we've always tried to make an entity we owned, even diversified or retained. We wanted them all to be compounding, in effect, become compounding machines." End of quote. However, if you want your money to grow using this proven way, you'll need to learn what Warren Buffett knows better than anyone. Assets are things you own that put money in your pocket. Liabilities are things that you buy that take money out of your pocket. So, assets are things like dividend-paying stocks or real estate, whereas liabilities are the car you own, the clothes you buy, or a new cell phone. What broke people do is buy things that make them look rich. But since they're liabilities, they're not truly rich. When you flip this around and start focusing on buying assets, you can truly become rich. In fact, you can become so rich that you can easily buy liabilities, since the assets you own generate so much cash that you can afford those liabilities with cash. This will become easier to understand with an anecdote. I knew a couple who were doing well financially and were looking for the next step forward. They thought about buying a new car that would make them look really cool, and one that they've always wanted. I suggested otherwise, since they were also very interested in personal finance and what they could do to grow their wealth. I reminded them that rich people own investment real estate. Even Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger started out with real estate. Buffett said, and I quote, "We both had a fair amount of experience in real estate, and Charlie had made his early money in real estate. So my friend decided to buy a small apartment complex instead, And after a month of getting the place ready to rent, they got a tenant and started making $300 profit every single month. This is a perfect example of how an asset generates cash and how a liability, while looking cool, gives nothing back. The greatest thing is that you don't have to have tons of cash to get started. Buildings and real estate are a sure compounding instrument, but real estate is expensive. Instead of real estate, you can buy assets like stocks that are earning dividends with as little as $5 a day, $5 a week, or even $5 a month. You can do as much as you're comfortable with. One thing to note here is that assets aren't the same as keeping your money in a savings account. A savings account will barely grow your money even if it does keep up with inflation. Yet earned income that is from compounding assets will work hard for as long as you own them. And you deserve to have that freedom to do what you want to do. So you need your money to work for you and grow. And that's just what assets do. The more money you have in assets, the faster it will grow and the faster you will get rich. One simple rule to use in compounding effectively is the 5-to-1 rule, which means for every $5 you spend on liabilities, $1 then goes into assets. If you spend $15 at Walmart, then you invest $3 into Walmart. If you spend $80 at Costco, then you invest $16 in Costco. The number 4 concept from Warren Buffett is a flashy lifestyle. The sad reality is that social media hypes things up a lot. They show tons of people who look rich but are not rich at all. There are always stories of people who have incurred thousands of dollars of debt just to look good on Instagram. There's a simple fix. Avoid the flashy lifestyle. Take a look at Warren Buffett. No one ever sees a brand on his suits. He eats cheap and he lives in the very first home he bought. Yet look how rich he is. You can follow in his footsteps and find the things that actually matter in your life, and at the same time, build up wealth. There's one more integral thing you need to do to grow your wealth. The 5th concept is to step ahead. While we can sit here and make excuses about why we're not wealthy, saying that businesses are evil because all they want is your money, the truth is we're all trying to survive. And that's just how the world works right now. The issue here is that we all have a choice. We can buy or not buy, and most people just don't have a filter. They buy things they don't need just because they want them. When you can develop a filter and not buy things just because you have the urge, you'll notice how much richer you feel. With that extra income, you start investing, and as you see your money grow, you want it to grow faster. Now you start thinking of ways to increase your income, and this is where you, as a saver and investor, hop on the other side and start figuring out how to be a producer, like the businesses you buy from. You can generate more cash flow since you now understand how the game works. Maybe you'll just work extra hours at your workplace and focus on getting a promotion, or you'll start a side hustle like freelancing or a micro business. Either way, you look to bring in more money so you can buy more assets and grow your wealth as quickly as possible. As you do this, the universe will open up additional avenues that will speed up the process, and soon you will find that you have that lifestyle that you have dreamed about. And then you can finally do the things that matter most to you. The concepts we've discussed here today are lifestyle changes that can bring about the wealthy and happy life you dream of, and very quickly if you live by them. Remember what Warren Buffett said, and I quote, "What matters is preparation. Predicting rain doesn't count. Building arcs does." End of quote. So here you have it. Free advice on becoming wealthy and having the best life possible from one of the wealthiest men in the world. And what you do with it is up to you. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel and return often. There are many informative videos to help you become the rich and happy person you deserve to be. Remember to share this video and channel with everyone you know. The universe rewards those who are willing to share good with others. And the universe always rewards us much more than we ever give. I'll gladly answer any questions in the comment section, and please comment on the things that you feel and the things you'd like to know more. And I'll see you in the next video.